So my skeptical mind, and that's just who I am. My skeptical mind goes to, well, yeah, of course, you've got this guy over here that's logical and reasonable, and you got this guy over here that's wearing a tinfoil hat. Of course, the tinfoil hat guy's gonna see a lot of stuff, right? He's like imagining it, or he's watched one too many sci-fi movies.
One of it's used to help us frame hypotheses for UFO propulsion, power, stealth, weaponry.
Everything that we experience is very positive.
Sometimes the field of ufology has a short memory span.
We didn't know anything about the $22 million back then. We just kind of thought, well, this is, and I think that was the reason why they were looking for military-type people.
Well, good afternoon, my friends. I'm Erica Lukes here on UFO Classified every Friday for 7 years. I've been here doing a show, except for maybe a couple that I've missed, but I love being here. I love getting into chat. I love hearing from people all over the world, and I mean all over the world. People are paying attention to this subject, to my show. The Travel Channel has been running UFOs, The Lost Evidence, nonstop. And as we know, UFOs are in the news. This is hot business. And unfortunately, with that comes the bad part of it when we get disinformation. But before that, I want to say today is UFO. It's the World UFO Day. So today is celebrated on June 24th and July 2nd. June 24th is the anniversary of the Kenneth Arnold sightings and in Mount Rainier. And then July 2nd marks the anniversary of the Roswell UFO incident, which happened in 1947. Interesting stuff about that. What is it? We don't know. Is it disinformation? I don't know. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in the second half of the show when my friend Scott Browne from In the Field joins me. I'm looking forward to that. But the first part of the show, I am talking to a new friend of mine here in Utah who had some interesting sightings reports and has cool information to share about his discovery process, learning about UFOs, what got him excited. It's going to be fun. And then I want to put out a plea to sock puppet artists. Anybody that makes sock puppets. Jeremy Corbell, I'm making a sock puppet about you. George Knapp, you're next. Bigelow, I'm going to do a whole sock puppet entourage. It is going to be the best YouTube show because I think, sometimes with some of the news coming out, you take 100 steps forward and then 200 back because you have information coming out that is, well, I guess this supposed leaked footage coming out of Russia and really? Are you kidding me? And then it's already been published. And is it a balloon used by meteorology? I don't know. Were there Spanish sources of the photo earlier? Lots of questions. But, I mean, come on, guys. You guys deserve sock puppet shows for that kind of, interesting business. But that's okay. So anybody who makes a sock puppet, reach out to me. I'm game. It's going to be on my new YouTube show that will debut next week with Scott Browne, who is helping me, and my dear friend Mario, Northern UFOs. We are going to get it on, and we are taking all of the people on who are putting out bad information. We are going to make this the best show on YouTube with the most followers because this information needs to get out. People like Barry Greenwood, Jan Aldrich, all of the greats in the field who have done work that people like Elizondo and Bigelow and co. are using, they need to be known for their contributions. The good stuff is going to get out, and I promise you that. You can go to UFO Classified to support the show, and I do need your support, my friends, because I am doing my archive. I'm building that. I'm building this show, and we are getting the truth out there. So go to UFOclassified.com to become a show supporter, and you are doing a good deed, let me tell you. So right now I am joined with Tyler Tebbs, who is actually reached out to me to talk about UFOs, and then we had this crazy connection with his aunt, Mary Tebbs, who is a brilliant musician. I have known her for years, and I'm going to be playing on the break one of her songs, and it's just cool. I was telling Tyler before I started the show that we're going to have a big party here for the real big debut of the Western UFO Archive, and he's going to invite Mary. I'm excited. Maybe she can play some music, but what an exceptional musician, and it's so much fun to meet you, Tyler. So welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I know this is it's so much fun to talk to people like you, because I love hearing what got you interested in all of this. And so let's just start with that. What first kind of got you into the UFO game?
Yeah, so I'm born and raised in Vegas. I'm obviously grown up in Vegas, as everyone's aware. There's a huge conspiracy, habit, whatever you want to call it, Area 51. My dad used to take me, my sister, and my little siblings out there, and I guess it's as far as you can go, at least, to the gate, and pique my imagination for sure. And I've had a few experiences living in Vegas, a few living out here in Utah, but it's if it only takes one sighting to get you excited.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's like there's so many, even for me as I look back on things, I mean, maybe, could things be explainable? I don't know. There are definitely a couple of experiences that I've had that I am still searching for an explanation, and I think that's why I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
And
absolutely.
But then it's like the more I've learned about different types of technology that we're developing, and since we're in Utah, as you also mentioned before we started the show, is there a possibility that this is something that we are testing? I mean, we have a lot of space here in Utah dedicated to the Utah Test and Training Range, Dugway Proving Ground, Hill Air Force Base, the NSA. We got a lot of stuff going on here.
Right. Yeah, and it's something that kind of piques my interest, actually. It's funny we started talking about it earlier. It's especially in Utah, it's something that I feel like Utah's got a good control on the masses for the most part.
What are you trying to say?
Right.
Could you clarify that? Or are you pleading the fifth on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I got no problem talking about it. It's obviously religion breeds control, and with most of the population being LDS, and it's kind of a stronghold for that type of thing. It's easy for people to get brainwashed, I guess.
You went there.
But there's, it's if the government really truly wanted to test some crazy things and, have the general public, not worry about it or question anything, in my opinion, it'd be a great spot to do it,
It is, we have lots of open space, and I think we have historically, when you look back at the Dugway sheep incident, and you look back at many things that have happened in Utah with regard to that, that's definitely could happen, and I feel, as I've stated for a long, long time, that's kind of what's taking place up around Skinwalker Ranch, so...
Right.
But let's go back to, what was the coolest sighting? Or what was the most memorable experience that you had personally?
Yeah. I guess the one that kind of piqued my interest in the whole situation and kind of made me a so to speak believer. I was leaving training one day. I played football in high school, and me and my dad were driving to drop off a friend of mine. And as we were driving close to his house, to where he lived, it got close to, or we were getting close to his house, and there was this light above the mountain, and it almost looked like it was like a self-contained light, like it wasn't emitting too much light, but you could tell something was there. And it kind of disappeared behind the horizon. And after that, we left the neighborhood, and it almost looked like I saw something driving next to us. It was a private airport filled. Hello? Oh, I thought I lost you. Sorry.
Nope. So every once in a while I mute my mic, and then honestly, as people that listen to my show know, I keep talking and it's still muted. So
yeah, no problem.
You just have to roll with me.
Yeah, no problem. So we were leaving the neighborhood, and it almost looked like it was next to a private airport in Henderson, Nevada. It almost looked like as something was flying next to us, pretty close to us at least. It was like blackish. It could have been my fear playing tricks on me, because I was kind of afraid that night. I was 14, 15 years old, and I actually slept on the floor of my dad's room that night. I was kind of shook by it. So that piqued my interest in it. One of the more, I guess, awestruck sightings I've had was going to be out here in Utah. Two of them, actually. especially recently. I recorded a few different things. I actually posted on YouTube. 3 lights out near the Provo Canyon entrance. They were in two. It started with 2 of them, and then a third one came into view, and they looked as if they were flashing or rotating. One of the lights in the corner, one of the cornering lights, it started kind of like moving sporadically, but not much, but you could tell it was moving in the air. And as the lights were sitting there, it was a triangle formation. They started strobing. One of the lights started strobing as if it was almost signaling the other lights to kind of fly off. And as these other lights flew off, they actually disappeared. That was back in March. Recently, I saw one back. Oh, geez, when was it? I want to say about a month and a half, 2 months ago. It was actually a cigar-shaped UFO. It's exactly ones that have been seen in all the other parts of the U.S. Down in Mexico, cigar shaped. That one, that was a lot closer. That one for sure was kind of questionable. I'm not too sure what it was, but it was definitely something there.
And so, what time of day was that sighting?
The cigar shaped one was about, let me see, 10:45 if I remember correctly, 10:50, right before 11 o'clock.
In the evening? Or during?
Yeah, and it's weird, but I've actually done research into it, and it's supposedly there's like specific times of days where people are more prone to see things in the sky, and it just happened to be right at that cusp of when we are supposed to see things, we see things, which is weird.
And so how long did you see the cigar shape?
It was visible until I decided to get in my car and try to get closer to it. So I saw it, I recorded it on my phone. I actually posted that video as well. But I saw it there. It was, a good 2 minutes at least. And then I decided I want to try to get closer. So me and this other person I was with hopped in the car and we lost it after that, unfortunately. I wish I would have kept recording.
Well, I mean, I think it's so hard when you're seeing something that you're not sure what it is, and then you're trying to film and I mean, a lot of times, especially at night, you take photographs and they just are video, and it just looks like little blobs of light. And my guess the next hour is really good at identifying things and photographing things and talk, helping educate people on that, because there is a fine art to really getting good information, and on the fly like that, it's hard.
Yeah, it's something that I don't know. I feel like it's gaining an interest too, and I feel like sightings are kind of picking up, but it's interesting that there's specific sightings that have kind of picked up, like the cigar shaped one. I feel like it's at least it's more publicly noted that people are seeing this type of object in the sky.
It is interesting to see, and then for me, I wonder, is that again some sort of technology that we're developing, and so I always, especially, I mean, because I've gone through this process in my journey, and it's like I've changed so much, and so now I'm really aware of that type of thing, and how I believe that they do put out information to, oh gosh, this is a UFO because we're actually testing something and we need to create a cover story.
Right. Yeah, and especially being in close proximity to Dugway Proving Grounds, and whatever happens at Skinwalker Ranch, that's whatever. It's public land, but who knows? There's all sorts of possibilities of conspiracy theories that can go there. But Dugway Proving Ground, it's definitely, that's government land. They do test things out there. That's proven.
Absolutely.
So there's no reason why, I guess it couldn't be some, government craft that's being tested, or, I'm deep into conspiracy. I like it. Stop provoking. But there's there's things that the Project Blue, is it Project Bluebeam, or I think that's what it is, where they supposedly are, shooting these, I'm having a brain fart, object that they're essentially, it's a faked object you're seeing in the sky, a projection, that is it's timed when people want to. That's why the whole timing thing comes into play. You know, where certain times of day people will see certain things, or whatever.
Yeah, it's all interesting because, there's certain, people feel that there are different specific locations that you're more prone to see things and different times of day, and there are all sorts of things out there where, you can go, especially when you're just digging into things, and it's sometimes can be exciting and confusing. And yes, Peter Shelley's holograms, with the blue beam and things. And so I want to ask you, like, you had your initial sighting, mm-hmm. and you became interested in the subject. So where did you go next? Where did you start getting information?
Google, obviously. Of course, the first, especially my age group, the first thing I did back then in high school is hop on Google and start Googling things, and then my dad, of course, knew things, or I guess same thing. He would probably Google things, would share information, talk about it with buddies and everything. But there's a lot of information out there. Some of it has to be real. Some, obviously, of course, some of it, knowing the way things worked in the past, it's probably fake currently. Some of it, at least. But it's deciphering what might be real versus what might be false is the hard part, especially nowadays with technology and CGI and.
Right. And so, I think this is so fascinating to talk to you, because I love, everybody has this process of, they have a sighting, and then they're looking, going to Google or different places on Facebook or different, forums where you can kind of talk and share ideas. And then sometimes that leads to, good things, and most of the time it leads to a whole lot of nonsense, I can tell you.
Right.
Hence the sock puppet show. But, you start digging in on Google, and then what types of things were you finding that intrigued you?
So I remember the old alien autopsy video from supposedly Roswell at the time, or wherever it was. That was one of the first ones I saw when I was, I guess, years back, when it first was released, and it kind of piqued my interest again. The whole, to me, it would be, back then I feel like they didn't really have CGI, or the technology wasn't there to make the quality of fakes as good. But Reddit is a good source, or I guess if you can decipher it, really, I guess there's no true source of good information or true information. It's kind of, you have to do the math, so to speak, on your own, and see if it's something that's believable, because no one really knows. You know what I mean?
No, and that's the thing. It's some of my friends and mentors are in their 70s, 60s and 70s and 80s, actually. And,
right.
They've been looking at this all of their life, and it's been an interesting process to see how there's, we've got this big, okay, we're getting disclosures here, and we're going to march on Washington, D.C. and demand it. And then, oh, just kidding. It's
right.
Like there's this, it seems to be this just kind of flow of information, that, we give it, pull it back, game playing, all sorts of things. And then, unfortunately, you have people that muddy the waters by putting out information that is just garbage, and they get the most attention in the media. And I think that is, certainly what we've seen as of late, a lot of attention to people who are probably making a pretty good living off of promoting things and marketing things and hyping things up. And it's like, really? Okay, well, that was kind of awkward, but...
Yes. So let me. But what about do you think like Lou Elizondo, for example? Do you feel like stuff he's spewing to the public is generally true, or do you feel like he's?
Ooh, Well, I think that Lou Elizondo is really good at promoting himself. I think Lou Elizondo has a shtick that he is using, and it's the same playbook that is being used by that whole group of people. I've just, the rumor is he's throwing in his hat to run for office,
Senate.
and yes, for Senate, and
Yep.
it's like, okay, so what is the undercurrent there? And then you also have something that I've been kind of harping on lately, which is the QAnon stuff. So you've got this group of people that are promoting that QAnon kind of narrative. We've got the reptilian shapeshifters and the crashed saucers and the dead bodies and, distrust the government. We better, it's just really strange stuff. And so I think that Elizondo certainly promotes things that I feel we should be questioning, and when people do question he is definitely gets angry and then also kind of does the allegedly, I've heard that he has several accounts that are actually sock puppet accounts where he goes in and allegedly attacks other people. So that's something interesting. So just throwing those things out there. But yeah, I would definitely love to get him on the show to have him answer some questions, and I think a lot of people
he's doing a lot of them.
He is, and a lot of people softball him because they're so smitten by this man and the government the fact is, and Steve in chat, who's a great show supporter and he's been on the show before, he just mentions that Lou has 25 years of expert training in deception his whole career. And Steve says, but I'm sure he can be trusted, wink, wink,
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I really haven't had these thoughts until recently where, at first I'm sure I was like most people where I wanted to believe everything he was saying. But as of lately, I start thinking about it a little bit deeper, and it's like, well, if they really wanted to keep hiding whatever is occurring, whatever they're doing that's making these things occur, what better way than to get these people that you've been training their whole lives or their whole careers to, deceive people and get them in positions of power where they can deceive the masses.
And that's interesting, and that's why I value hearing your discovery process and your thought process on all of that, because that's where I think everybody that's listening, we make these, observations, and then we kind of step back and go, whoa, this is odd. Something doesn't feel right.
Right.
And so that's really interesting that you say that.
Yeah, it's there's got to be, there's got to be answers to it. There's answers to everything that occurs in our lives of existence, and there's got to be a solution to it. I'm sure someone knows. Someone has to have the information. At least in my opinion.
And that's one of the great questions. Does the government actually know anything, or are there just different people or groups of people who have a vested interest in making money to steer the narrative and just play games and things? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a loaded topic, and for me that has been. When I got into this, I'm like, I want to go out into the field. I'm going to research this. I've had experiences. I am gung-ho, and this is so cool. And then the more you do the deep digging, you're just like, ugh.
Right. Yeah, it becomes almost more murky the further you go.
Yeah, it does. And I think that this is a really good, it's a good lesson for people. The history of the subject is a good lesson for people, and we seem to have younger people that get, they'll see a TV show and they get turned on to the subject, and and then you go to YouTube and you're looking at popular shows, and, you're getting people that don't understand the history of the subject, and they don't understand that, hey, we've been down this road before. And so why are we following, the big, disco ball in the sky? Why are we looking at that and distracting ourselves when we could be doing other things somewhere else?
and not repeating the same behaviors we've repeated in the past to get the same answers we've gotten in the past. You know?
Right. Yeah, it's really interesting. But so, okay, I'm picking your brain here because I love this. But tell me more about. So, okay, you're digging around on Google. You're finding sightings or things that you like, and you mentioned that you like kind of that conspiracy theory stuff. And so, where did you go from there when you started discovering things?
Yeah, I guess when I started doing the looking for especially with the whole UFO topic, I guess the easiest way to get the answers is to go up and just kind of keep your head looking up, and eventually you'll see something. And that's I seem to see things, especially like I said, it's my position is kind of between Dugway and between Skinwalker, so a lot of the things that people see out in this general area of Utah could be things from them, or from the Dugway testing grounds or whatever it's called. But yeah, I guess it's self research, because again, you can't trust everything you see on the internet. I guess the Reddit, like I said, Reddit has some good sources, and you can read through the comments and get a general idea of if something's kind of BS or not BS. But like I said, there's not really other, like even MUFON. I feel like MUFON's got a few things where it's it's hard to kind of decipher the information through them. But I guess that would be probably one of the only trustworthy places you could get most of your information from.
Oh well. Yeah, I mean, you would think. I thought that too. I did. I really did.
Right.
I was, because I think we talked about this when we had our conversation a few weeks back, but I was state director for Utah MUFON, and that was a very interesting learning experience, and definitely they really have no interest in getting the truth out there. It's so.
That was the general vibes I was getting from it, because I one of the cigars, the recent video I took, the cigar shaped thing, I saw that being dismissed by MUFON as SpaceX Starlink stuff, and it kind of puzzled me because I'm obsessed with SpaceX and I know that doesn't look like Starlink.
So go into that more.
Yeah, so it was the cigar shaped UFO, and like I said, it had previously been seen in Mexico. I had people send me videos from Seattle that saw it, Montana, all over the place, and it was the same exact thing we saw. I mean, there's no way it can be Starlink. Starlink, yes, it moves in a general pattern, but it spreads apart over time. In order for this thing to be Starlink and visible from my line of sight, it would have to be massive. Way too big for it to be Starlink. So it didn't make sense that MUFON was so quick to dismiss it as SpaceX.
And so who specifically from MUFON was dismissing it?
It was, I don't remember exactly who it was, but it was, MUFON had, I guess, generally whoever the caseworker was. I don't know how the process works with it, but I remember reading an article on, or a post in MUFON saying it was dismissed as SpaceX Starlink stuff.
Interesting. Well, it is interesting. When I was the state director, and I know that people that listen to my show have heard this story before, but this was very fascinating to me. I had a case that I worked on that was October 2nd, 2014, from my foggy recollection, but there was a mass daytime UFO sighting over Utah Valley, or Salt Lake Valley, and people were snapping up photos of these white spherical objects. There were 5 to 7 of them. They were at a standstill over the valley. Fox News got inundated with these reports, and then I got a call from a reporter at Fox News asking me to take a look at that and weigh in and things. And so I got on Facebook and started getting all the photographs and trying to contact people, and I went out and interviewed a group of people. I have that video interview, and they said in the interview that they were in this specific area, and that they were underneath a flight corridor for the Salt Lake International Airport, and during that time that they could not see any airline traffic, which, a couple of them said was very unusual given their location. And they said that when they started looking up in the courtyard of this complex, and they said that it was like they could not hear any sound. It's like the birds stopped chirping. There were all sorts of things taking place, and so that was very interesting. And then in the same time frame, there were a series of cattle mutilations, and then sightings in the Skinwalker Ranch area. One of my contacts informed me of, and then the next day over Breckenridge, Colorado, which a reporter, Matt Renew, did a great news story about that because there were sightings in several places in Colorado, and he talked to police officers. He tried to get NORAD to make a statement, different things, and that was very interesting. So I investigated that case. Not to give, I'm supposed to be interviewing you, and here I am just babbling on. But this is kind of a cool story. So I did a FOIA request with Bill Puckett, who's had been great working with on different radar cases, and twice we got back unreadable text format for radar data, and that was curious. And I also worked with Robert Powell, but MUFON, the head of MUFON Communications at that time, and this was, a lot of people, this was a mass sighting in 2 states with a lot of work done on it, and Roger Marsh, who was the communications director for MUFON, dismissed it without even looking at the information and basically said that they were Google Loon balloons. And, I'm thinking, I was working with another fellow from MUFON, Colorado, and he's like, no, okay, we kind of ran through things. First of all, you wouldn't be seeing them; they're not visible. It's also they weren't.
And they don't
tested.
Yeah, they don't use them where there's good internet service already.
Well, you would kind of think that, but then I had contacted the FAA, several times, and there was, they were not testing them in the area at the time, and so I just thought it was very peculiar that MUFON, an organization who should be like, yes, here's a mass sighting, we're going to run with this, is like dismissing this and saying they're Google Loon balloons. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It was odd.
Yeah, it's a weird. Obviously, in today's world, we all know how easy it is to get power over people. Or organizations as a whole, and it's what better way to deceive the public than to say that you have a mutual UFO network, and that's what their job is, to investigate UFOs. But really, they're not really doing that. They're investigating our stuff, and we're going to shut it down.
I know, it is quite curious. And so I want to pick your brain about what you know about Skinwalker Ranch, which is very near and dear to my heart, as much as I, probably, want to give it a rest for a minute, but probably won't.
Yeah. Nothing other than what's, obviously accessible on the good old fashioned internet. I know a little bit about the whole Bigelow thing, and how years later, after Bigelow owned, Skinwalker Ranch and did his research, he ended up having a space company, Bigelow Aerospace. Like I said, it's everything that's accessible online and kind of spewed to the public. I have my theories about Skinwalker Ranch, that's for sure. But
ooh, okay, do tell.
Let's see. So, obviously we're in close proximity to good old Dugway Proving Grounds. With all the, dumps, deep underground military bases and whatnot, obviously these things do exist. It's been, proven by the government. The government has admitted to some of these bases. Who's to say that they don't have a giant tunnel system or something that, is accessible to Skinwalker Ranch, underground, and, is probably connected to Dugway. In my opinion, that would make the most sense, that it has some type of connection to Dugway Proving Ground. Because Dugway, as I'm sure you're aware, is, mostly underground, at least from the stuff I see online.
Right. Yeah. And so did you ever go down that rabbit hole of believing, like I did, that this was a place where you have these vortexes opening up and these shape-shifting beings walking out of the vortexes?
Oh yeah. I still semi believe some of it. I don't know. I'm sure you know who Eric Davis is, one of the lead investigators, and he's supposedly some big scientist now. But some of the things that he says, but then again, it could all be disinformation to feed the public a general lie, and we all believe it because we want to. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, Eric has been he's been on my show before, and I talked to him, and I actually really like Eric. I mean, he was very pleasant to talk to and things, but was there is there disinformation that's being put forward? I definitely think that is the case. I think that people in the Bigelow clan look for people in the public that will get information out and build their case. Right. And so they're going to see who runs with it. And then in their case, they've found a few people that can promote their stuff without really thinking about what's behind it.
Right.
So that works out for them. Free advertising. It's good.
So what is... Do you have your own theories versus things like you actually believe that's happening at Skinwalker, or?
I think that Skinwalker Ranch was a manufactured myth that was created by George Knapp and Colm Kelleher, and they took different. They took the Native American lore. They took some of the work of Junior Hicks, who was a wonderful human being that lived in Roosevelt, and Dr. Frank Salisbury, the Utah UFO Display, a great book. But I think that they took bits and pieces of that and fabricated a story that, again, there's no tangible proof. I mean, it's like, why, after 30 years, have we seen nothing but just more... kind of the confusion. And when you watch the Jeremy Corbell, Skinwalker documentary, this is one thing that really gets me going, is the fact that, you've got this really wonderful, sweet woman on there that is talking about her son's medical condition, who is, definitely, who has been affected by something. And Jeremy is pushing her to say that it was because he was seeing a UFO, and the UFO caused the medical issues. And to me, that is really, I think that's crap. I think that is absolutely unacceptable to do that to somebody. And so I think that and again, like I said, show us proof. We've got $22 million of taxpayer money that has gone to what? Gone to what? Using other people's work?
And it's $22 million that we know of, realistically. Probably a lot more than that. It's, I don't know. There's, especially with Eric Davis, like you said, he presents himself as someone that's believable and trustable, and like the whole Jeremy Corbell thing, the interview. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I'm in sales, and someone that's done sales for a few years. It's asking leading questions is you're looking for an answer. So when you ask these questions, of course he's going to give you the answer you're looking for. But it does place doubt, and I've always kind of had that feeling, especially with Corbell, that he's kind of in it for himself, it's for his personal gain.
That certainly would be clear.
Right.
I mean, anybody that puts, I'm being so naughty tonight. I don't care. Whatever. It's the truth. But anybody that is in a documentary for 3/4 of the time when they're doing a documentary on something,
right? Yeah.
They should be behind the camera. Yeah. Oh, here I am walking up a hill. Okay, cool. Okay, here I am flipping through things and sitting in the bathroom in the dark with my cell phone. Oh, whoops. Okay. Anyway, I'm being naughty tonight.
It could be as the whole disinformation thing. If it really is that type of ploy, so to speak, then what better way than to get, especially my generation and the generations following, it's internet, YouTube. And if this guy presents himself as something cool and, trustworthy, then everyone believes the things he says. But
it is interesting. And I know that it's, definitely the talk on Reddit and the talk all over the internet, over the past few days has been really ripping some of these people apart because of the information that's being put forward. But they still get airtime and
Yep.
and things, and I think it is interesting. It's definitely a cottage industry for a handful of people that have made a lot of money on doing things. So but
Right.
that's interesting. And so I don't know. Tell me more about what you think of all of that, of Skinwalker, of Area 51. Let's talk about that.
Well, obviously, it's a big testing ground. There's not many answers, lots of questions. There's answers put forward by specific people, and that kind of falls back into what you were just talking about, the whole Jeremy Corbell thing. It's hard to follow the track, especially with Area 51. It just follows into nothing but disinformation. It feels like, I'm sure probably one of the few things you follow or you see when you Google Area 51 is, TRB3, the alien autopsy stuff. No one knows what's happening, or if anything specific is happening towards the general public good or whatever. But yeah.
And so do you, and I mean, granted, I've got pictures of me standing at the gate of Area 51. I mean, I have gone through this whole process of things because it's the lore of all of this. I can see how people get pulled in. I did. And,
Right.
Then at the end of the day, you have people that are probably, surrounding themselves, they're going, hey, let's go hang out by Area 51, or we're going to take photos, and oh my God, they're UFOs. And it's like, okay, first of all, really? And second of all, would you maybe think that you might be a target or you're, being used to put out information? I don't know. The whole thing is just so silly, but I think I mostly really want to get on board with the Storm Area 51. I think that is the most productive thing we've ever done in ufology. I think we should definitely do that. What do you think?
Honestly,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. What were you going to say?
Realistically, what are they going to do?
I think they would probably shoot us just to.
Do you really?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
really?
absolutely. And I would hope.
I
mean,
feel
honestly,
I feel like that would only demand more answers by people.
Well,
it's like,
but
okay, well,
I get it though, because this is for our defense and our national security. So I would understand you have to. Yeah, absolutely. I would think that would be, you've got warnings all the way around. Don't come on this property. So the whole storming Area 51 thing I thought was a little goofy.
Do you think if the general, if enough people have enough questions, do you, like, eventually the answers have to come out, right? Or is it something that they will just hide? Because I believe, there's definitely something else out there. There has to be. It's too vast. If there is other things coming here, and the government knows it, will they ever tell people about it?
You know what? I don't know, and that's such a great question, and I think that's a question I talk to my friends about all the time. And I would think, first of all, that is such a. There's a lot going on with that, and I respect the fact that we do have. This is a national security issue. This would be a global security issue that you would hope people would be working hand in hand. Different countries would be working hand in hand to get a handle on this. And I don't know if telling the general public. I don't know if the general public, especially at this point in history, if we are smart enough to handle it, honestly,
Right.
with the way I've behaved and what it just so. I don't know, but I really feel, for me right now today, I don't think that the government honestly has a clue, really, of what's going on. I don't think that's their priority. I think their priority is what's taking place in Iran or Iraq, or what's taking place with Russia, what's taking place here in the U.S. How are we going to keep our own citizens safe? And I understand that. So, what do you think?
I honestly, I think if they did know something, they would never say anything about it, because it's an element of control, curiosity. If you have all the answers and you have the answers other people are looking for, then you usually will have the ability to control those people looking for the answers, because you know the information they're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thing, and I've kind of thrown out on some of my other shows. It's like, who would be putting together a team of people that were actually going to engage, and how would we engage?
Right.
And I would really hope that we would be more intelligent than just to blow something up. And I think, the threat narrative that I've seen presented by Elizondo and co. is an interesting thing, and I think I would understand that would be the case, because you'd need funding for defense contracts. But
Right.
I also think, from a standpoint of somebody that doesn't necessarily think everything needs to be blown up, especially if there was another intelligent, if we had another intelligence in the universe coming to make contact with us, what would these be our ambassadors?
Right. So let me ask you, what about, like, I'm sure you know about the rendition force thing, and
Rendlesham,
I forget
Yep.
I forget the gentleman's name, the one of the Air Force pilots that said he had some binary code downloaded, and all these things. It says, origin date 8037 or some way far out date. If something really is coming here, or if something is, I guess time is weird the way it functions outside of Earth, and the further you get away, is it possible that it's something, from, like, who's to say this guy is not telling a lie to us? You know what I mean? Because he seems believable. I'm sure you've seen the citizen hearing, I think is what they call it.
Yeah.
Where he.
Yeah, Jim Peniston is, I think.
Yeah.
Right. I think, in the Rendlesham Forest case, it's been really interesting. I've done a show with, or several shows with my friend Nick Redfern, who did a book on Rendlesham in the past year, and he's finding research that would basically support the theory that this was actually weapons testing. And things, and so it's one of those cases that has been, again, like, so muddied by people and by probably disinformation or misinformation. It's hard to know, the truth on that. But
right, and I want to say it was close to or just after the whole MK Ultra thing, and I've had my fair share of experiences with hallucinogens. So, it would be pretty easy to convince someone that's had a small dose of something that they're seeing a UFO craft. You know what I mean? That's my only reason I wouldn't believe his story is if he was, convinced to see the things he saw.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting. So what are some other cases that you like looking at? What do you think?
Honestly, I like the alien autopsy thing too. There's a lot of disinformation, I feel like, around it, but maybe some of the disinformation is because of some of the information was real. Like I said, I'm no CGI expert or Hollywood expert or anything, but if you compare movies from, the time that alien autopsy supposedly was released and filmed compared to, Hollywood stuff happening, it doesn't, the graphics or the mannequin designs, it doesn't look as high quality. At least in my opinion, it doesn't look as if it's matching to the times. But so that's one that it's intriguing, especially with all the stuff that's come out about it recently. The CIA saying they were asking for who has the actual footage of the alien autopsies or something like that. I don't know if you've heard about that.
No.
Yeah, I think it was a Reddit post I saw. It posted something about the CIA admitting that there was the footage of parts of the footage released was real but recreated by this professional, and they're seeking the actual footage to sell for some cryptocurrency project or something like that.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Right.
Wow. I'm going to need to see a therapist over that one. Yeah, the alien autopsy is definitely one for the memory books. It is.
Right.
I mean, I think when you first see it, it's like, whoa, wow, that's so cool. Yeah. And I mean, even, the glorious Kit Green, I think, people like that have fallen for the alien autopsy. But it is. I think that definitely was hoaxed. It's an interesting story, though, right. And I can see how, it's like you go down these rabbit holes, and it's like, oh my gosh. But you're going to have to you want to believe. Yeah, I know. I mean, and I think information is presented in such a way by very clever people that it's right. Easy to get kind of hooked into and things. And so that was one for the memory books. But so where do you personally want to go, with all of this? Like, do you want to get out and do like field research? Do you want to?
Oh, I would love it. Absolutely. The more things I can see, the merrier. I'm all about visual contact or seeing things in the sky. Especially because I feel like I've seen a few things, and it's like I want to see it again to see if is it real, or try to explain it myself, because it's hard to get answers from other people.
And I think that's so cool, and that's why it's a lot of fun talking to you, because it's like you want, you're learning just like all of us are trying right. to learn. And how do you, weave through this, disinformation, blah, blah, blah. And then how do you go out there and really do things that are moving things forward and right. Maybe having, a little fun while you're at it, because Lord knows, most of the time I'm not having a good time, especially with the right. Skinwalker Ranch stuff. Wow, that's been right. Yep. a trip. But I mean, it's like I would love to. I'm really excited to have you to the archive, and if you want to get some of your friends up here from Vegas, and we are going to do a big shindig. Granted that COVID, things with that don't hit the roof, but I would love to just do that, have you guys here, show you some of the files, and maybe start to get people in here that can do guest presentations again, which is what I was doing before all of this happened. But it would be really cool, and then we could go out to different places in Utah. I'm not going out by Dugway, thank you. I don't need any health effects from things. But there are plenty of other places, and I posted on Twitter today a really beautiful place that I have loved camping that's close to Skinwalker Ranch. And even if there's nothing paranormal there, it's just fun to go out there and camp and look up at the night sky and all of that stuff. So we'll have to make a plan this summer that we do that. And then definitely with your aunt, I mean, do you know when her next gig is?
I do not. I could find out. I know she does them quite frequently. She actually has someone she does music with. They're called Mary Tebbs and the Will Baxter Band. Lots of good stuff. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music.
She's been doing it forever. And I will find out where...
Ever since I could remember.
Yeah. I mean, but... well, that might make us all feel old, but... No, we have definitely... In fact, I remember she came over. I had a party at I had this really cool old place that was built in 1907. And this is when I was gigging, for all the time. And I had this lime green, actually avocado green baby grand piano. And it was from like the early 1900s and stuff. And so after I'd get done with gigs, all my musician friends would come over and we would just jam. And I had a party one night and I drums and all sorts of things. And I'm fairly certain that your aunt was there playing drums.
But she's like I said, she's talented. She's really good on the drums, guitar. She's talented, singer, songwriter. I wish I could do the things she does. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's really cool. And I love the fact that you're out there, you're asking questions. I love the fact that you contacted me, and I'm really looking forward to just hanging out, having you here, and
absolutely,
and we can exchange information. Yeah. I love it. I'm ready. So thank you very much for being here. And we are
thank you.
Absolutely. It's a lot of fun, and we are going to play a song from your aunt. It's called Beautiful, Mary Tebbs. So if you are in Utah, definitely check it out, or go to YouTube and look for her music here. And thank you, Tyler. That was fun. That was really fun.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
You have a good day, Kay.
You too. Absolutely. Thank you. And we are going to be back after this wonderful song, this beautiful song, with Scott Browne from In the Field. So stick around.
The sun dripped light all across your face. I couldn't find words to say the thing I most wanted to, the thing I've been thinking all day. My world stands still when I try to talk to you. I get quiet every time you're near. My lips try to shape the words, my heart's pounding out loud and clear. You're beautiful, I feel beautiful, and everything's beautiful when I'm with you. And time spins quickly away from us. I build up the courage to speak my mind with hope for your hand to hold. I leave all my fears behind. You're beautiful, and I feel beautiful. Everything's beautiful when I'm with you. The words circle in between, and I don't dare breathe. Then you would take my hand in yours and simply smile at me, 'cause you're beautiful. I feel beautiful. Everything's beautiful when I'm with you. And I'm with you.
Okay, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I mean, not to be corny, but that was. Mary is such a beautiful, an incredibly talented musician, and we are really lucky here in Utah that we have some of the best musicians in the world. I'm not just saying that because I know them; they're my friends, but we really have some amazing people. So, Mary, thank you for sharing that song, and thank you, Tyler, for being here. It was really cool, great feedback and chat from the first segment. And I want to say to all of my loyal listeners and supporters, I appreciate everything you do. I really need you now to take links to the show, to spread them on social media, to get up there on the top of Spreaker and like the show. I am getting out there on many different platforms, including Apple Podcasts and Amazon and all sorts of things. And next week, we are making the big debut with my friend helping me, my two friends, Scott and Mario, where we are transitioning into video. So basically, this is my last night of sitting here without makeup on, in a t-shirt, maybe my pajama bottoms. But next week, it's game time. We're bringing it on. And I am super stoked because my friend Scott Browne from In the Field, who I've known for, years now. I mean, I'm excited for this project. Scott has done incredible graphics for me, and I thank him for all the work. But we've been talking, formulating plans, and we will have the best YouTube show out there. Mark my words. Scott, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me again, Erica.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. And so what are we've been formulating our plans here to take on the big boys or whatever. And so what are your thoughts? What are we going to do? Tell everybody.
Well, I really, really just would always wanted to see some kind of show on YouTube that kept people engaged, information-wise and visually, and the latest news, and I mean, possibly like a segment where we give tips for filming or shooting photographs, or trying to pin down people who've hoaxed things, and that type of stuff. So really just trying to give a lot of information to people and keep them engaged. And I mean, you're the perfect host, so
why, thank you. I think that you, between you, me, and Mario, and then we've got a couple other people that we're going to pull into this because they have interest, because they've been doing good research, and my friend and mentor Barry Greenwood has agreed to come on the show frequently, so we can actually not only hear him like we do in the podcast, but see him and see the amazing collection he's got behind him. And I just think that the visual impact that this will have is going to be really significant. And I don't know about you, but I'm really tired of seeing, it's like we get people are, you've got the younger generation and they're very savvy with, social media and YouTube and all of this stuff. But a lot of times they don't know the history or understand that they're, potentially putting out information that isn't accurate. And even though, I think you and I, when we're all learning, we will be wrong again, but we have a great deal of information that needs to be out there, and people need to be learning from this so we're not making the same mistake decade after decade.
Right. And it's, something like I've also been thinking about maybe a segment where we do, maybe once every episode we do a short segment on a historic case, and pull up some images or footage and use it to illustrate the case. There's just not a lot of that. And a lot of the podcasts right now are, they're having on other people from another podcast, or, people that aren't really relevant in the field. I just saw one the other night, and I won't mention any names, but this woman was, claiming to be a contactee experiencer and going on and on about how she had birthed over 50 hybrid children, and
sweet balls of fire. That's got to be. I mean,
it's just, I had to literally force myself to go through the first 5-10 minutes of her talk, and then I just shut it off. I couldn't even listen to it.
Was her alien lover an ancestor of Brigham Young or something? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. They really have to, a lot of times I think, and like you said with the younger generation, they'll make statements about, for instance, okay, you've got people making statements that, that the aliens are not a threat and they're here to help us, and, that whole Space Brothers thing. Whereas,
the Space Brothers with the blonde hair and blue eyes doing the Heil Hitler. Woohoo!
Right. Or they'll even force their religious beliefs onto an encounter that they had, and it will become, they met with angels and they were helping them. And really the truth is that there's historic cases in the literature that show clearly that people were either harmed, they died, some disappeared and were never found again. So, you really, if you're going to study something and you're going to be involved, then you really should go back and look at the history of the subject that you're studying. And it's important.
That makes way too much sense, Scott. Stop talking sense.
You are spicy tonight.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what my problem is. Kind of like it though. No, I know that this is going to be so cool, and I love the fact that getting the visual clips out there. You're so incredible with graphics, and then also having the wonderful archive that I have with some of these documents and some of the things that have been shared with me over the years from Barry and Jan and people that I really value a lot and things. This will be something that other people just simply don't have. And it's not being, for whatever reason, it's not being done by the people that are, screaming about disclosure right now. I mean, they're not, I think that there's a certain case that you have a photo that, in the field on Facebook that you've done a great job kind of talking about that. And so tell us about that.
You mean the pyramid in Russia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, a while ago, and I think they put it on their own website, but George Knapp claimed back in the 90s that he had smuggled footage out of Russia of a pyramid-shaped UFO, which kind of looks like it was shot on infrared, but I can't really tell. Apparently it was shot, I think, in the 70s, and so I had found a page from an older UFO book that showed a still from this same film. And they said that it was mistaken for a UFO, and it was actually a tetrahedral high-altitude balloon, which is shaped like that. And in those days, they had a lot of them that were being apparently manufactured in France, and they were clear, and they looked like that in the air. So, I put them side by side, and I was like, it's an exact match. And then I ended up finding a video of it, I think released in 94. But I think the video that they loaded on Knapp's site said that it was 96. So, I'm not too sure. But what I am sure of is that it's not a UFO. It is a tetrahedral high altitude balloon. And, you know, I mean, I'm not really sure why they think they have facts to back that up, that they think that's a UFO. It's just, I don't know, it blows me away. But,
and I mean, like, I wonder, like, do they care? I mean, like, because obviously you can sit there and promote, you know, Bob Lazar over the decades, and clearly that, you know, I mean, there are a lot of holes in that whole thing, but yet here we are, and that's still being promoted, and people are making money off of that. And so it's like, why, you know, I mean, it's it's interesting to me, and I think both you and I are on the same page, you know, the fact that we want to get good information out there, and it's not that, you know, we're debunkers. It's just that we're realists. We can put two and two together. My God. And, you know, we can see that there are things that, you know, people can have slick production values. People can, you know, have these great ideas, these marketing schemes, and, hey, we're going to work with this network of people, and we're going to, you know, just, you know, do all of this stuff. And at the end of the day, that's not good for the subject, because, again, it's, you know, we're taking, you know, a step forward and 20 steps back, because here we're getting, you know, different things coming out from the government, and then we're putting out there pictures of things that are clearly not UFOs, and we're promoting them. And that does nothing at the end of the day, when the dust settles, to promote good, rational study of the subject. And it also doesn't, you know, when you've got people that are genuinely seeing things that are potentially something otherworldly, or something that is ultra-terrestrial, whatever we want to call it, you know, that does a disservice to the witnesses who are brave enough to come forward and try to understand what it is that they're witnessing.
Right. And, you know, so take, for example, and, you know, along the lines of what you just said, take, for example, somebody like Wilbur Allen, and you've heard of him, right? You know of him. So he was a National Geographic photographer. He was an engineer, I believe, on Air Force One for Ronald Reagan, if I'm not mistaken. And so he's also been on the show Uncovering Aliens, a couple other ones on the Weather Channel. He was on some different shows, Missing in Alaska. And so he has developed an imaging system that he has set up in his backyard, hooked up to a very powerful telescope. I mean, he is capturing these objects entering the atmosphere over Washington. And his videos have 143 views, you know, 99 views. So I've always been fascinated by his work, because they've claimed he's very, very standoffish because of the ridicule he's put up with, people bashing him all the time. So I posted one of his videos that he claimed was 4 Tic Tac objects entering the atmosphere at the same time. And when you see these images that he's capturing, you know, for the people who have claimed that he shot meteors and shooting stars, that is absolutely not what he is capturing. And the section of sky that he points the equipment at is the same section of sky every single night. And he captures these objects coming into the atmosphere, moving at hypersonic speed. They do not resemble meteors at all. And no one pays attention to his work. And when I posted the video on Twitter, his video went up to like 3,000 views. I don't even know what it is now, because that was days ago. But, you know, people began to ask me questions about him. And I said, this is the type of thing that people should be either trying to do, or they should be looking at his work. You know, there's so much out there that people are attempting to achieve to gather their own information. that it's ridiculous that they're looking at these, I mean, take Corbell's latest video that he just dropped that was played on TV on 2 different shows, and it shows 2 lights hovering in the sky. It's all pixelated. You can't get any detail from it. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's
Well.
just, when you have people like Wilbur Allen, who has invested literally hundreds of thousands of dollars into his equipment. I mean, he has, NASA quality images that he's capturing, and he is virtually unlooked at. He's tried to get them to look at his work, and they've just brushed him off.
You know what? I remember looking at his work a few years ago, and I remember, you're right, he is it's a little standoffish because of everything, but I think it's having, interviewing people like that are actually out there doing, doing things that we should all be doing. I think that's really important, and it is it's sad, and it's sad and comical that you have people that are so good with, their I don't know, spiel, that it's like, hey, we're going to put out this absolute garbage, but yet 50,000 people are going to like it, and whatever, we're going to be all over the news, and hey, props to us, maybe we can show my butt walking up a hill. That's good. Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Watch that booty.
And there's people, that are doing really good work out there that are completely unknown. Nobody knows who they are. I can post a capture that I made, and make a video and put it on Twitter, and, it'll get a couple hundred views, and, something like, this last video drop from Corbell, within minutes of him dropping it, it's got like thousands of views, and they're flocking to these people for answers.
Oh, God, help us. God, help us.
Like, they're the ones that are connected to the phenomena,
Right.
So I think, with us trying to put together a different show, I think it's going to be along we're going to be along a completely different set of rails than the other.
Right, because we have integrity and we do good work. So.
Yeah, there's not only that, but it's down to where we collectively, look at things and say, well, this has some validity, and we should probably be looking at this. And I mean, there, like I said, with Wilbur Allen, the guy, he's kind of, I sent him a message the other night that I wanted to really talk to him about his work, and he told me that he was having some personal things going on in his life, and he really didn't want to talk right now. So he really has no idea who I am. He's kind of like, he's kind of, I guess I kind of made him a little bit nervous, but I mean, it's people like that. So if you're going to take, there's people out there using the Sky Hub where they have the camera hooked up. It's on a pivot, so it can go 360 degrees. It can look at anything. I think that if there was more people doing that type of work, that we would create our own disclosure. We don't have to wait for the government to tell us, well, it's possible that the UFOs are real. We're not really sure. If they're in the atmosphere and they're flying around, then we need to go out there and create our own disclosure. People need to grab that evidence. The problem is you got to get some money to get some high-tech equipment. I mean, even the camera that I use, the Psionics Color Night Vision, I love it, but it has its limits.
Right.
It can only zoom out so far. It can only do certain things. I don't have $100,000 to invest in equipment. If I did, I'd already have the equipment.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like, with my my show. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. It's like I am literally and I love the people that are supporting the show, but I right now am not making enough money to do this to pay the cost of the show. And
Right.
I'm looking at all of, these other, YouTube shows that are just making money for stuff that isn't good. And it's like, we are doing that work. We are, putting forward, we want good equipment. We're doing field research. We're archiving. We are doing all of this. And that takes, I don't know how much money you've spent over the years, but I know I've spent a lot of money doing this.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I am, I will continue to do that because I'm invested in this. I love it. And it's important. And now we just need to find people that are willing to jump on this and to help us do this together. So this is a cohesive, this is a network of people that are doing this not because we are, looking to scam people or, create, get our ego stroked and things like that. This is all of us doing this. This is important.
Right. And I have, I was made an offer a couple years ago by this media company that got a hold of me, and they, I guess saw some of my work online, and they asked me if it was possible if I could create fake UFO images that could fool people and could fool skeptics trying to take it apart. And I said, well, knowing what I know with all the different techniques on how to hoax, the things that people look for, faking EXIF data in the photo, I could easily, fake images all day long. And they were like, well, listen, we own a bunch of news outlets, and we would like to have some images, to create some articles around. And I knew what they were looking for, and they were looking for images that they could build a fake narrative around, maybe some case about a guy who saw it and took a photo. And I refused to do it.
Wow.
And I said, I can't really have anything to do with that. I'm not in it for that. I don't want to make money on fooling people because I've been fooled and it made me angry. So I want to stay away from that, and I'm going to have to turn that down. And it was they were offering me good money for each image. They were offering me good money, and I could have done it. I could have stayed anonymous, and nobody would have ever known the difference. But there's no way I'm doing that. I just can't. It's just not in me to do it.
So is this a group that people would know about in the UFO world?
The outlets that they own, it's a large media company, and they own I don't know how many different news organizations, and so people in the UFO community would be very familiar with them. Some of them British publications.
Oh.
Yeah, not all of them, but some of them.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's take a and I won't mention a name, but there's a YouTube channel that specifically deals in fake CGI videos, and this person over the last 10 years or so, it's been estimated that he's pulling in like $100,000 a month.
Holy
and this is from all fake CGI, and he has a massive following, and it's just incredible that he can drop, and within the first hour of the video being dropped, talking 10,000 views within the first hour. There's other channels that struggle to get a couple hundred views.
That's disgusting.
It is outrageous, and Pete, you can say to people, they'll say to me, "Oh, so and so's channel, he's got great content," and I'll say, "That's all fake. That's all CGI. You need to realize that." And they get defensive, and they're fans of the channel. They've bought his merchandise, and it's just pathetic. And the new generation, the younger generations that are coming into this now, a lot of them are splintering off to follow some of these fake people, and they don't realize how much is out there, how much you've got to wade through to get to the actual facts and the actual authenticity.
Well, and the sad thing is when you've got the king of crap out there on every news channel peddling garbage, I mean, it's like, God, I mean, it's like, yeah, we wonder, and that's really unfortunate that and I guess that's the way it is in the world of YouTube and all of that, but in social media. But it's like, I mean, I'm gotta wrap my head around that. And but then again, we've seen, I think the subject, over the decades, I mean, there have always been people that have used this to make money or to spin their little schemes or to influence politics or religion and things. And that's really, that's been, I think, because, it's like people are afraid to call out the gods of ufology. And because they're, I remember having a conversation with, I've had a conversation with everybody that I know in this subject. And one of them, Richard Dolan, a few years back, and how are we going to change this subject? How are we going to make it better? And, this is the way it's been. This is the way it's always going to be. And that was the answer from, everybody. And that I talked to, and I'm thinking, so we're not going to make this better? We don't have a responsibility or an obligation to move this forward and to teach people, a younger generation, of what is accurate information and what to look for and the pitfalls to avoid. That's not what we're going to do to make it better. We're just going to sit back and make money and go speak at conferences with people like Corey Good. Oh, cool. Sweet.
Oh, God.
Right on.
Yeah. And it's like I guess in any subject or any field, you're going to have this type of thing where, look at the people who feed off of religious fanatics, and they, have their $1 million churches, and they live in mansions, and they're sucking all this money out of these poor people's pockets that are making, minimum wage. And, it's the same exact thing. You're always going to have people that are going to come into a field, no matter what it is, and prey on the people that are weaker, the people that are influenced easier, they're led astray. And, you're always going to have it. So in this field, it's already crazy as it is. Even if we didn't have any of that, it's still crazy.
I mean, it's ripe for the pickings. And
right. So
and,
right.
And
add that is, oh God, it just makes it even more confusing.
And that's why, have you ever been to any UFO conferences? I'm sure you have.
Never in my life.
Oh God, let's just for fun. We'll put on like the plastic nose and the fuzzy eyebrows, and you don't know who I am, but we could try that.
I'd like to just one time, just for the hell of it.
I will say that it is one of those experiences, and now that I've learned so much, and I'm like kind of processing everything that I saw, I'm just like, oh my God, okay. Yes, I was going to get up at 6 a.m. and talk about my abduction experiences and then be at a conference where, the year before, I think, was it one of the Mr. Biceps or Little Lord Fauntleroy? I'm not quite sure which one had a security guard that blocked the door. I think it was Biceps, but it's like, what? We honestly, we just for fun, we should go with our cameras.
I absolutely would love to do that, and I mean, I'd be happy just sitting outside interviewing people. It would be great because it's just such a varied, crowd of people that come from all walks of life that have a million different views on, what's this and what they believe in. And, I mean, I've watched plenty of footage of, like take, for instance, the Pine Bush, festival that they have every year where people dress up like aliens walking down the street, and they have UFO floats on the back of a truck, and I mean, it's just it's a circus. It really is.
I will say that I spoke a few years ago at Edinburgh, Texas. Noe Torres does a conference down there, and there were people dressed up like aliens, and it was like this big. It was really, but it was fun, and the way he did it was so cool because he was using, kind of using that little kitschy alien thing, but then he was bringing all these people together from the community, and it was so cool. And I love just sitting at a table and having people come up and tell me their experiences and talk to me, just like doing the radio show. It's like, why are you here? What led you down this path? And I think that, again, for you and I to do something where we have integrity, where we care about other human beings, and we can educate people. Okay, you're good with, okay, this is how you get out there, this is how you photograph things, this is what we need to do to improve our skills, and here's how you identify a mundane object, which I think you can take that, if like in the case of when I was with MUFON, there were good investigators. There were investigators that wouldn't discourage people, and I really always wanted to be somebody like that, where if, like, okay, you're misidentifying something, then hey, let's figure out what this is and let's learn and empower ourselves, and not make it a browbeating session for somebody who thinks they are seeing something. It's like, well, great, good job for looking up. Now let's do something cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's and people. I mean, I probably get 10 to 20 photographs a week, 10 or 15 pieces of footage to look at. People are constantly tagging me in footage. It's usually the resolution's so bad that I can't even really make a determination, but it's to the point where, people, they're jumping at everything. And so, like, take, for instance, this clip that went around, I think it was last week, where where it was filmed at such a distance that the resolution was so low that it turned the jet plane into a tic-tac shape. And so,
did they leak that out of Russia?
And it's
did they smuggle that across the border?
In his boot, and they it's, and people don't know any better. I mean, they're not used to looking at video that's downgraded or low resolution, so everything becomes a UFO. And I constantly stress to people that if you're gonna film something and you think it's a UFO, look for things that it's doing that the objects that we're already aware of do not do in the sky. So if it's making, 45-degree turns and it's zipping about doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay, well, now it's doing some weird stuff. So now it's blinking out and then it's popping back on in another part of the sky. Okay, well, that's definitely something not normal. And look for those things. Look for the abnormal behavior, something that you've never seen before. I get photographs all the time of lens flares constantly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
People shooting into, the high poles that are in like a shopping mart parking lots, and they'll shoot the sky and there's the reflection of the light that becomes a UFO over in the sky. And, I think that if MUFON's going to do anything, that they need to have a program that educates not only their investigators, but educates the public. And I'll be able to go to the website and look at a piece of footage that's low resolution of a plane that looks like a Tic Tac.
Yeah. I was working for MUFON and made those suggestions and was doing good things, and we saw how that worked out for me. But yeah, I mean, it was just like, this is so simple. Videotape, somebody like yourself, videotape somebody like Erling Strand, videotape something, get information out there. But we can't seem to do that because we're too busy selling T-shirts and hats and tickets to the symposium. I mean, it's paying for a really expensive place in Irvine, and sweep. Anyway, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, this seems like a very simple solution to things.
It really is.
Why in the hell, I'm going to use that word, I'm getting spicy tonight, as you know. Why hasn't anybody done this? Because it's too easy to fake stuff and to sell T-shirts? I mean, is that really it? I don't know.
And it's gotten to the point where one well-known MUFON director, or I'm not sure if he's a director, out in California, asked me to borrow my graphics so he could teach his investigators, which is ironic because I left MUFON because I didn't like what they were doing. So after a couple years went by, and then just, 3 months ago, the chapter in Las Vegas gets a hold of me and says, we'd like you to do a presentation for us with your graphics so our investigators can look at it. So I said, well, absolutely, So we set up with the cameras. I pulled it up on the screen and I went through my graphics and I explained to them each one what to look for. And it was recorded, but it was not released to the public. So my friend that runs a podcast that's also part of that MUFON chapter, he said, hey, listen, let's do an episode and you can do the same presentation that you did for them, but we can put it up on YouTube for people to look at to kind of educate themselves. And I said, sure, let's go for it. So we put it up, and good friend of mine, great guy. He runs a podcast called Dead Hand Radio. Mm-hmm. His name's Andrew Hall. And the episode's on there. I've been on his show a couple of times, and, we went through the whole thing. I think it turned out to be over 2 hours.
Awesome.
And, but he's right, where things like that need to be shared to the public, and the public needs to train themselves to what to look for. A lot of people will pull their phone out and go, oh my God, what's that? Film it, put it on.
Absolutely. And I think, it's, and people, I kind of think that are in an organization like MUFON need to not pay membership dues to an organization that is clearly broken after 50 years, and form their own organization with a clean name, because it's like, why the head, MUFON, at the top of this should be promoting things that are shared with chapters. instead of having the chapters go out there on their own, and one chapter's talking about, reptilians that are from God knows where and doing what, or they're demons, or, whatever John Ventry's talking about this day, today, or things. You've got that inconsistency, and when you have an organization that starts from the top down, and there is integrity with the organization because they all have, there's cohesion, and that's not happening. And I think that's at the end of the day, you are right on, and the people they're trying to get that information out there are as well. We just need to not do it under MUFON.
Yeah, that whole organization needs to be completely restructured, and they need to really look at what they're doing. If they're trying to build up their whole repertoire of investigators, they need to rebuild their website. They need to have people be able to come on there and search for the things that they're looking for, make a report, pull out documents. They could make it 10,000 times better than what it is. And I think that's the reason why groups like Rich Hoffman's, the SCU formed, because of things like that. Because
and yet they're still having Hal Puthoff speak, which is, maybe another show.
Yeah. But they've done some great work with the analyzing of videos, and which needs to be done. They need to have people in there that know what they're talking about. Scientifically based people.
Yeah, that would be good, and I think that is our goal. I think we want to engage. We are going to engage the public, and like I said, we're going to do it with integrity. We're going to do it with make sure that people who have committed their lives to this subject are honored, and their work is carried forward, and that we're not putting forward information that is just simply, to make us look better or to get a million YouTube hits. I think this could be done correctly, and that has never happened.
Right. And it's, even along the lines of, you could have a separate section on the website where somebody could research a famous historical case, and it would have all the documents that are involved in that case, and they could look it up, and they could look at the facts, find out, okay, this was released under FOIA in 1994 or whatever it is. But there's nothing like that out there, and I find it frustrating when I go to their site and I'm trying to look for something that maybe happened in a certain area. I don't even bother anymore. I usually use, there was a video that just went around a little while ago of this long tubular object that was falling out of the sky and into the ocean. And it looked like some kind of long tubular UFO. I think it happened in Singapore. I think that's where it was. And so what I did was I went on to YouTube, and I got a tip from somebody that they had some kind of holiday festival in that area right around that time when that was filmed. And I went onto YouTube and I found a bunch of YouTube channels that were from Singapore that were showing people making these homemade balloons and filling them with hot air from like candles, or I'm not sure how they were doing it. It looked like it was in a very poor area. But what they do to celebrate is send up these balloons. And the balloon went out over the ocean, lost its hot air, and when it came straight down, it turned into a tubular-looking shape, and that's exactly what it was. And, I mean, once that's discovered, a case like that, with those facts that are involved, then all of that stuff can be uploaded into a file so people can see, okay, this is what happened with this UFO. And, you know, here's the facts. They were having this holiday, you know, around that time. This is how they celebrate that holiday, by launching these balloons, you know, and stuff like that. And I've always envisioned some kind of website that would be like that, that would be, you know, easy for the layman to use and to go look up, you know, and just put in Singapore UFO 2021, and the whole thing would come up, and they could look at it, you know.
Yeah, I think that would be brilliant. And I know, you know, when I was, you know, researching, I was obviously, I think the anomalous light phenomenon is something that I traveled to Norway to learn, and Project Sphere by NARCAP is a really excellent paper that people should read. But I was very much interested in looking at these types of objects that I felt at the time MUFON was, you know, they were poo-pooing because people weren't necessarily doing, you know, I mean, it's like, it's easy. Okay, this is what it is, and we're going to dismiss this. It's a plane, or it's a you know, not a Roman candle. Oh my gosh, the Chinese lantern. Thank you. And you know, things like that. But then when you look at some of the other data that comes in, and these things are flying against the wind, or they're burning for longer than would typically be what you would see with a Chinese lantern or things like that. Or I actually went to, I called different fire departments around the country to see whether they were restricted, because a lot of places there are restrictions, and you cannot launch Chinese lanterns, because they are such a fire hazard. And so I did, you know, a lot of work on that and things. And so all of that sort of information would be ideally put in a database that would be accessible to the public. And I think that would be really phenomenal. And it would, you know, I mean, these are all great ideas, and we would not sell our data to Bigelow.
No. You know, and I just wanted to say something about this short little segment that we're going to be working on, and hopefully we can get it up on the news show and play it for people, involving Stella Lansing, which you're familiar with.
Yes.
And she lived in my town. She lived about a mile from here.
And tell people, give people the background that don't know, like we do, about Stella Lansing.
She, in the 1960s, had been driving by a cemetery up near her house, and it actually has all the residents in it from when the town was founded. So the stones are like, you know, 18 this, and, you know, really old stones. So she happened to be passing by this cemetery, and she saw this ball of light bouncing around in there. And so, you know, it kind of freaked her out. And I'm going to leave some stuff out, because I found this stuff out about her. And we're in the process of talking to some of the family members and the people who live in the house where she lived right now. So she, it really scared her. And then I guess shortly afterwards, she saw it again, in an area that was very close to the cemetery, but near a set of high tension, high power lines. So she began to take pictures, but she wasn't really capturing what she wanted to show people. It wasn't really doing her very well. You know, they didn't have the technology we have now. So somebody offered her to borrow a small 8mm camera. So they let her borrow it, and she began to take these films, and she captured some incredible stuff. And she thought that she was losing her mind. And she ended up being studied by a guy named Dr. Berthold Schwartz. And he wrote a book about a bunch of different paranormal stuff, and one section in the book is about her. And he made trips out here to spend time with her, and all the way down to she saw something rise up out of the lake where she lived, which is right up, like I said, a mile from me. And a bunch of other stuff that I'm going to put into the short doc about her. But I talked to her a few times on the phone, and she was still just as confused about it as she was when she shot all that stuff. And she passed away in 2012. And her material, all of her films, hours and hours of films and photographs, and she documented everything on pieces of paper and napkins, and apparently this stuff was left in the garage of the people, and the people who bought the property, that stuff sat there for a few years, and I'm not even really sure if they ended up throwing it away. So we're in the process of trying to talk to the people who live there now, but I want to approach them gently because I'm not really sure if they even know, about her or what happened there. And see if maybe they shoved it up on a shelf in the garage of the barn and it's still there. I mean, if it got thrown away, it's just such a waste. It was her whole years of collecting this material. And, so we're going to see what we can do, but we're in the process of reaching out to her children. And like I said, the people who own the property now, I'm going to see if I can try to get them to go on camera and just see if there's anything paranormal going on around that area still,
Well, that was so fascinating. And then that's going to be really cool, again, to have you do that with your colleague. And I just think there's so many amazing things that we will do with this and teach people give people good information and have fun and give these beautiful graphics that you do. And I am really, really, really excited. And it's been, I've had, as I've been, my life has been very tumultuous as of late, but that's luckily calming down. And so I'm really excited to get focused on this and get out there. And I love, I've got interviews that I did from my time in Norway that I would love to put out there and things. And I was actually, you talk about going out onto the street and asking people. I mean, I was over in the airport in Amsterdam with my camera and, by myself. I'm walking up to these, college age students. Hey, tell me what you think about UFOs. Or the guy that was dumping the trash, give me your thoughts. And now that I look back on it by myself, I'm like, what in the world was I thinking? But, I've got the footage. So we can put that up there.
And there's so many things that we can, segments that we can include that, people will enjoy. They'll get information from it, and then, of course, guests that actually give out good information, and they're not just there to, have their back slapped and laugh it up. And, not to say that
You're not going to slap my back.
but I mean, there's a lot of directions we can take it in, and we'll keep working on the structure once we get it going and see where it goes. And I have very high hopes for this. So.
I do as well. I mean, you and I have talked about this, and I've just had, you just get those just that electricity, you just know something is right. And I think, over, the years over half a decade that I have done UFO Classified, my radio show, I've definitely gone through a learning process for God and everybody to see. And I have strived to, work with integrity and to get good information out and to bring on people that deserve to be recognized publicly. And I think that this is going to be an extension of the blood, sweat, and tears that I put into this, and what you have done as well. And I think I know it will be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. And I just have to tell everybody out there that is listening to the show, again, we need your support. We need you to get out there, to get on social media, to post the show, tonight's show, and then to also, tell people in your social media groups about the projects that we're doing, and to go to UFO Classified and pledge your support that way, because we can't do this. We have goals, we have plans, and this isn't just about you and me, Scott. This is about us. This is about a community. This is about people from all over the world who deserve to be represented with integrity, a subject that deserves to be respected and to be looked at without all of this other garbage that is weighing us down and muddying the waters and making a lot of money for a handful of people and not serving a good purpose. And that is what we are going to bring. I know it.
And of course, our right-hand man, Mario, will be right there with us.
And if it wasn't for you, Scott, I never would have found Mario. And so thank you. You do, within the field, you do such a great service for all of us. And I feel like that is probably the only, Facebook page that I really get in there where I know it's moderated by people that are, not necessarily going to put up a bunch of nonsense and people that I want to associate with. I think that's really, you've done, and that's a painstaking project, and you and your admins have done a great job.
Yeah, and he is, he's supported me from the beginning just like you have, so he's a good guy.
I know, and I don't know if Mario's taking a nap. Mario, are you taking a nap now? He's so great. I will say that, Mario has been the one person that has been in chat every single show that I have done.
Yep, he's a dedicated man.
It's like, wow, that is so cool. And I want to thank, everybody else that is, we see Jeff and J-Ron and Peter and all of these great people, and Steve, and there's just so many, Ken, and I know that Erg Brock is listening, and there's so many wonderful people out there. We have, as difficult as it has been, we have created a community, both of us, and now we're going to bring those communities together, and we are going to do something that will be really important and something that will probably not make other people happy, but whatever. Move over, sock puppet boy. Will you just promise me we could do one little segment with my sock puppet show?
Yeah, I think we can do that.
Thank you. Yes. I promise you it'll be worth the while. So we will be doing that next week. We will be giving all of you information out on how we can, how you guys can view this. This is going to be a work in progress for the three of us. And so again, just might have some hiccups, but you've learned to love that about Erica Lukes and UFO Classified, so you can roll with it on this one. But thank you, Scott. I'm so stoked we're gonna do it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I will see you next week. And I want to thank everybody out there for, again, listening to the show, understanding that we have a lot of work to do, but there are some incredible things that we're doing. And like I said, this isn't for me. This is a community. This is us. This is a whole community doing this together. And so I'm really looking forward to this. You know that I do this just like Scott from the bottom of my heart, and I care about all of you care about the subject. And so thank you for being here and supporting me. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And Scott, I'll be talking to you, Mario, when you wake up from your nap. I'm just kidding. I'll talk to you too, but I love you guys. Go to UFOclassified.com to learn the latest details. And Scott, where can people find you?
Oh, they can find me on Twitter, Scott Browne ITF. They can find me on YouTube. And they can find me on Facebook.
Sweet. All right. Well, you guys have a good 4th of July. Thank you, Scott. And I look forward to, just kind of taking it on. This is going to be great. Have a wonderful weekend, you guys. And we will catch you next week with some good stuff.
Bye-bye.
So my skeptical mind, and that's just who I am. My skeptical mind goes to, well, yeah, of course, you've got this guy over here that's logical and reasonable, and you got this guy over here that's wearing a tinfoil hat. Of course the tinfoil hat guy's going to see a lot of stuff, right? He's like imagining it, or he's watched one too many sci-fi movies.
But it's used to help us frame hypotheses for UFO propulsion, power, stealth, weaponry.
Everything that we experience is very positive.
Sometimes the field of ufology has a short memory span.
We didn't know anything about the $22 million back then. We just kind of thought, well, this is, and I think that was the reason why they were looking for military-type people, because in the military, you work with whatever you got, no matter what the situation is, and you just kind of adapt and overcome.
What are you going to do with all this? You can't even take care of your own files and get them put into the current system, but yet you want to go collect other people's things. So where are you going to go with this? Who are you giving all this to?
It just really struck me about how the common thread seemed to be deception, but deception of a human nature. So that's when I started thinking, who would these folks be? I mean, then I started thinking about the intelligence agencies, what role they could play, and what would be their motivations for getting involved in ufology.
I'm not saying that because the gimbal is not a rotating flying saucer, that means that all the UFOs are false. Not at all. All I'm doing is I'm looking at this one case, these individual cases, and seeing if there's an explanation for those. So try to, if I could ask people out there listening, don't think that I'm trying to attack your entire beliefs about these things.
Nice to be in orbit.